Welcome back to another session of Drums. So, once again, my name is Eden. I'm the drum instructor with OGR. I'm here with Amanda, and I'm here with Susan. And we're here to talk to you today about pocket. So,
what is the pocket?
Yeah, so let's kind of delve into that. So before I give the actual real definition, let's just kind of have a conversation about just drums in general. So I feel like the foundation of pocket, of any kind of pocket, is teamwork.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that in music. Like, what does that look like on stage?
I think so. In the pocket, to me, the teamwork is so important because that's gonna be the part that makes people go like, wow, they spend a lot of time together practicing. I mean, like, your band is probably your best friends. So you spend a lot of time practicing. It's like everybody knows where everyone's going.
You listen to each other.
Exactly. You listen to each other.
And you listen to each other so much, and you get to know each other musically.
Yep.
Almost to where it becomes almost like the psychic thing where you kind of know where the
It's
guitar
a vibe.
player's going to go
Yeah.
next.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
It's the vibe.
You're all passing
And
the
that
vibe.
just comes with time, and it takes work and listening to each other and working together. Not just, you got to get out of the mentality of, okay, I'm going to solo and this is what I want to do and this is how I want to play. No. It's not about you. It's about the band as a whole and listening to one another.
Definitely. So pocket really can be, pocket is universal. It really doesn't matter what kind of genre or style that you really play. I started off playing when I was 10, playing drums at church. That kind of evolved into playing to a rock band. Years later, I wound up into a hip hop band, and now kind of selling on R&B. So I've kind of been really diverse in my sound. But one thing that I'm learning at a later age in my drumming life is what that pocket is, what that feels like, what that sounds like. And the best way to describe pocket for me is when the drummer is able to lock into that tempo, and then we're able to lock in with that bass player, and then the bass player just super locked to where that kick is everything. They feel that every time it comes to the hook or it comes to the chorus, you know that it drops coming because it feels so nice because everybody's kind of building on each other. And you got the keys and the guitars. And it all just kind of culminates into a perfect storm.
Wavelength and vibe. Talk about
Yes.
wavelength and vibe.
Well, I mean, that's basically what that is. When you can put that all together, that's the definition of what that pocket is.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody's on one accord and we're all just coasting together.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you don't, there's no break in that music. You know from start to finish it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know that you're in the vibe. That's when you know that you're in the pocket. And like I said, that's universal beyond whatever kind of genre.
The ancient art of weaving, where you've got, and it starts with the rhythm section with drums and bass,
Definitely.
and just that interlocking playing of the drums and bass, and how you play together and with each other, and you just kind of build on that.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what kind of what's your style? What's your genre? What's your history? Kind of talk a little bit about that.
Wow. I started when I was 10, and I started with drum lessons, so I learned a lot of the paradiddles and rudiments and things like that, which is good in terms of learning coordination and dexterity and that sort of thing. And then I played in concert band and marching band and stuff, and all through high school. And then in high school I got into jazz band. And jazz is great in terms of learning that finesse and really teaching you how to listen to what other people are doing and learning your place in that mix and how you fit and how everybody fits together. The different pieces come together to make one whole. And playing jazz it taught me that. And it made the switch to rock and roll later on, I think, a lot easier.
Definitely, like jazz is like the foundation of like everything. Like any drum fill that you're gonna do, any rock, any beat that you're gonna play on the drums, like if you really like break it down, you can find some kind of like
there's a root
mental
there.
kind of foundation, that's like it all traces back to jazz.
And to this day, when people ask me, like, what's your drumming style? And I say, well, I'm a rock and roll drummer, but with a jazz sensibility. There's there's a finesse and a feel that carries over from jazz into my rock playing that comes out once in a while.
Yeah.
You can hear it a bit in my playing.
I think everyone's drumming style changes too, and so I think that's when you get people like us who go, well, what kind of drummer are you? What genre? It's kind of a hard question for us to answer, because I know when somebody says, what genre of drummer you are, what is it? Well, I don't know. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
We all have our own individual styles as drummers, just like as people, we have our own individual personalities, but at the same time, I can't pigeonhole myself into, well, I'm this kind of drummer and this kind of genre, because if you're a human being, hopefully, presumably, you're always going to be growing and learning and evolving.
Absolutely.
And at life, and drums is just one piece of that. It's just one example of growing and learning and evolving in life. So just because you sound a certain way on Monday doesn't mean you're going to sound the same way on Friday 10 years later.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the only real way that can happen, that growth and that learning, that expansion in your drums, that understanding of what pocket truly means to you, the only way that you're going to get down to that is if you lock in on some sets, if you're sitting down at some drums, if you're running rudiments around the set, if you're playing songs with your drums, if you're having drumsticks in your hand and you're actually physically playing, you're not going to be able to expand and grow if you're actually not putting in work. So,
you know what? And that's kind of tangential to ergonomics too, wouldn't you say? The more comfortable you are behind your physical drum set, the faster and more likely you are to kind of find your groove and find your style if you're physically comfortable behind the drums.
Yeah, and it makes it super easy to be like, to change up your style during your song, or during even like when you're doing a recording session, or you're just messing around with your band and you're trying to write some new music. When you're practicing, it kind of adds to your own personal vocabulary, so that you're able to take that back to your band and say, hey, what did I learn? Or look at some ideas of what I can do for our song now, because I went down and I found my own personal pocket. I found my groove. I found my foundation. I found that, like I just said, that groove, that straight line that's going to make that song kind of
and it's about listening to yourself and where you want to go stylistically and what just feels right to you in terms of your own personal style. So you got to listen to yourself, but you got to listen to other people. You're not, in a vacuum in a closed-off room somewhere by yourself, symbolically speaking. You've got to listen to your bandmates. You've got to listen to other people, or you won't find a pocket. Period. End of story.
So Amanda, does that mean that sometimes us as drummers have to turn the volume down?
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes I think as drummers, I think there is a little bit of a drummer personality.
In all of us.
No!
I think we all have a similar trait, being a little goofy and maybe a little spazzy. I don't know. I think we like to move around.
We can't be still. It's impossible.
We're active people. I mean, if you watch me, I'm always kind of moving. And it's just the person I've been. So yeah, we're probably the people who, sometimes it's okay to just sit on your hands. It's okay. Because we are a very loud instrument. I think it's good to be mindful when you're at practice, because when you're at practice and you can't stop touching your instrument, especially as a drummer,
This happens so many times. Like, you ask me like how many looks I've gotten during practice because I can't be still. And I'm looking at making noise and like, come on, man.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is if you're always playing with your drums, you can't, be still and kind of have that respect for your band members. You're not going to find the pocket. You're not going to get in it. You're not going to, because that's a part of communication, is being like mindful with your instrument. For everyone, for guitar players, for bass players. You just don't hear it as much about the bass players because they're usually quiet. So, it's like the guitar players,
It's not about you. It's not all about you. It's
Exactly.
about the band and
Exactly.
listening to one another and being respectful of one another.
I agree, 100%.
It goes back to, like you were saying before, just that weaving process. And how, like, if like I said, the drums, the bass, the keys, the guitars, if we can all come together on that same wavelength, it doesn't matter what song, it doesn't matter what style, it doesn't matter what tempo. As long as we can all groove together, we find that common mesh of sound and balance in the song.
You know, a good analogy might be, you know how, like, when you first meet someone at school or something, and you get to know someone, and you don't know them very well at first, but you start getting to know them a little bit better, and then you kind of become friends, and you just kind of start talking more, and then you just become, at some point, you become besties, and you know each other really, really well, and you can kind of know that person well enough to know, oh, this is how so-and-so is going to react in this sort of situation,
Right.
or if I walk into this sort of situation with so-and-so, I kind of know how they're going to respond. I kind of know what kind of stuff they might say. And
Or that Susan likes more peanut butter on her sandwich than jelly.
I don't like peanut butter.
Who doesn't like peanut butter? Come on.
Where did we get you from? Okay, video's over.
I like peanut
We're done.
butter.
We're just moving on. No, she just messed up everything.
That's the pocket.
Joe Pocket's over.
I put chips on my peanut butter sandwiches. It's very good.
You put Doritos?
That sounds good.
Yes, Doritos.